I'd like to share with you this morning as our reading a poem by Merton, which is just entitled Advent. And as you know, we're in the season of Advent in the Christian calendar. And he says this: charm with your stainlessness these winter nights, skies, and be perfect. Fly vivider in the fiery dark, you quiet meteors, and disappear. Disappear, you moon, be low to go down. This is your full. The four white roads make off in silence toward the four parts of the starry universe. Time falls like manna at the corners of the wintry earth. We have become more humble than the rocks, more wakeful than the patient hills. Charm with your stainlessness these nights in Advent, holy spheres, while minds, as meek as beasts, stay close at home in the sweet hay. And intellects are quieter than the flocks that feed by starlight. Oh, pour your darkness and your brightness over all solemn valleys, you skies, and travel like the gentle virgin toward the planet's stately setting. Oh, white full moon, as quiet as Bethlehem. When I got home yesterday evening from being here and from doing some errands, I got out of my car, and just as I looked up, it was starting to get dark, but just as I looked up, I saw an enormous full moon. Did anybody else see that? Wasn't it spectacular? It was one of those moments that was so beautiful. So I want to tell you a story. Happened just about this time of year. I think it might have been 2012, but as you know, I'm not great with dates. But I was joining my seminary class to go on what we call a cross-cultural trip to Egypt. And since it was a Christian seminary, much of what we were going to do was indeed, and we did this, we visited the ancient monasteries in the desert of the Desert Mothers and Desert Fathers. Someday I'll tell you about how the Desert Mothers monasteries were trash compared to the Desert Fathers. Okay, just saying. But not now. That's a story for another time. So we got to the seminary in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and it was probably 3:30 in the morning, which is not a good time for almost anybody, including me. We I was going to say hopped, but we didn't. We crawled on a bus to go to New York City, to get on the plane, to get on one of several planes, to go through several time zones. And we finally landed somewhere in Egypt and got on another bus to get to Cairo. And by then it was really dark, and we were all, well, let's just say really tired. And we got to the hotel, and it was dark, and it was close to the desert. There can be a lot of dust and stuff in the air. My friend Elizabeth and I trudged up. We were roommates. We trudged up to our room. And the first thing I did after kind of tossing my suitcase somewhere was to go open the curtains to the balcony. I don't know why I always do that. And what I saw made me lose my breath. Right there was the Great Pyramid. It was so close, I couldn't see the whole thing. And I blinked, and it took my breath away. I had seen all my life, right? You see pictures of the pyramids, and they're always in the desert, and they're so amazing, and yet there it was. And nothing I had ever seen had prepared me for that moment of wonder. I said, Elizabeth, you have to come see this. And she had the same experience. It's like, oh, this is real. This is so beautiful. Now later on, of course, in the daylight, we visited the pyramids and saw, those giant boulders that are on the lower levels are all taller than I am. And anyway, the whole trip was just a series of wonders, but that one will stay with me for as long as I live. So I'm going to invite you in this moment, because I'm sure every one of you has had an experience, or maybe many, many experiences in your lives that brought you to that place. And maybe you want to close your eyes for a moment and just remember what that felt like. Or maybe it was the moment you saw your newborn for the first time. The moment you saw the perfect flower growing out of the crack in the disheveled sidewalk, or a double rainbow in a supermarket parking lot. And as you remember that moment and you relive that experience of wonder and how it captured you, I want you to imagine what it might have been like for our human ancestors 150,000, 200,000 years ago, or maybe even much earlier. Imagine looking at the night sky without a moon to light the way, and wondering. Imagine them experiencing the nights getting longer and longer, and at least in my imagination and from what I've read, the nights would have been a frightening time, especially without being able to see anything. Surely there would have been members of each tribal group watching for predators while everyone else slept. And the nights getting longer and getting longer, and perhaps the fear becoming bigger. And then one day realizing that the day was longer again, that the sun had come back. And that each day after that, the sun was going to come back even a little bit more. And I wonder, as I was sort of letting my mind wander about this, I was wondering, who was it? Who was it who first noticed? Was it a child who didn't have anything more pressing they needed to do? Was it a wise elder who made a habit of watching the heavens? Or was it a mother nursing her child? The people who study these things, who study the history of human beings over the last many hundreds of thousands of years on this planet, have different ideas and different theories about how things happen, but many of them agree that our ancestors, which we call Cro-Magnon or Homo sapiens, who appeared 150 to 200,000 years ago, may well have been the first to have language. Their anatomies are closer to ours, and I mean, if you think about what it takes to actually make a word and the kind of jaw you need to have and what your throat, or sing, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the choir, or sing. I mean, who knows, maybe they sang before they talked. That wouldn't have been me, but whatever. And how many thousands of years it took to really develop language? Scientists say they would have needed, in order to convey the wonder and the mystery of the solstice, they would have needed symbolic language. They would have needed the capacity to assign meaning. They would have needed the capacity to differentiate between the past, the present, and the future. And how long did it take for the entire human family around the world to learn to honor the solstice, to learn to honor the mysteries and the beautiful things that fill us with wonder. It may have taken 100,000 years for that to happen. But we also know, because we've seen that roughly 40 to 50,000 years our human ancestors were making art. So they had symbols, they understood symbols. Well, their brains were bigger than ours, so Lord knows what else they could do, but anyway. They were making art, they were making sculpture, they were painting on cave walls, they were sewing clothing. 40,000 years is just a drop, it's just a speck in time. 40,000 years ago, based on places like Stonehenge and other places, or Machu Picchu was much more recent, but we have all over the world human communities honoring and noticing and trying to understand using both science and spirit and mind and observation, trying to understand these things, which we now do, but it's still a beautiful history, right? You and I, each one of us here today, each one of the people we love, each one of the people we've ever loved, still have inside of us that capacity and that desire, that willingness to connect to the mysteries and the beauty that surround us. We have that. It matters to us. We celebrate even today. You and I, if you guys come on Friday night, this coming Friday, we will have the 30th annual solstice walk right here in this congregation. And I'm happy to say that as many of you know, Kathy Merton will be here to help lead it. Without me, I will assist her. And we will travel through that solstice wheel and think of the year past and what we want to let go of. And in the center, we will take a moment of time. And as we make our way back, focus on what we wish for in the coming year. And it will be full of meaning, as it has been for tens of thousands of years. In California, where the Spaniards, when they colonized, built many churches, some of you may have visited some of them, I have. They built many churches, and a number of them have a special solstice thing that happens. So at least one of the windows is located in such a way that during the first day of winter, after the night of the solstice, the light shines on a sacred object inside the sanctuary. It shines, I mean, many of these things are made of precious metals, right? It shines so brightly that the miracle is recreated. Why did they do that? They wanted to colonize and, shall we say, encourage or force the indigenous people to convert, to feel that this religion was so magnificent. Awe and wonder have been tools of power for as long as humans have been around. And I'm going to say to you this morning, that capacity I just described, that ability to learn, to study, to be touched by, to be gobsmacked by, to be made breathless by something full of wonder, is one of the greatest gifts of being human. And it's one of the reasons you and I are here, to make a space for us to do that together. To make a space for us to celebrate, and maybe for a moment allow ourselves to feel that wonder, and to feel that connection, because, as a dear friend of mine says, and you've heard people say this, there is more that unites us than divides us. I picked the solstice because it is coming. These experiences draw us together much more than the hatred can draw us apart. Amen, beloveds. Ashe, and blessed be.